Do you dread going to the dentist and getting yet another huge bill to add to your credit card? How about instead traveling and exploring a beautiful new city while also getting quality dental care at a reasonable price? Well, that's exactly what my husband and I have been doing for the past few years. Hi, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Amalia and I'm a health coach and part-time flight attendant. So today we're going to be talking all about dental tourism in Medellín, Colombia, and I'm going to share with you my best tips and tricks for preparing for your trip, how to make the most of your time there, and how to find a great dentist. According to the National Institute of Dental Research, dental costs in the U.S. have been increasing by 30% over the past 20 years, leaving many to either postpone important dental work or go into debt for it. When we found out that my husband needed extensive dental work that would cost thousands of dollars in the U.S., I looked for alternatives. As a flight attendant, I had constantly heard from other flight attendants that not only was it much more affordable to get dental work done outside of the country, but that our dental insurance would even reimburse 30% of those costs as an out-of-network cost. But one place that I kept on hearing great things about for dental work was Medellín, Colombia. And then, when I traveled there for work myself, I just fell in love with this beautiful city. So how to find your dentist in Medellín? The best thing, honestly, is to ask for recommendations. So I recommend joining a few Facebook groups. There are a couple that I can link in the description that I found very helpful. One is called Expats in Medellín. There's also one for just female expats in Medellín. So, you're going to get a little bit of everything in these groups. Some things are not going to be relevant, but you can find some really good recommendations that way. Also, ask around, Google. My dentist there is definitely not the cheapest. You can definitely get a way more affordable dentist in Medellín. However, it was important to me to work with a dentist who worked holistically. So that's why I chose my dentist. And it's still way more affordable than a comparable dentist in the US would be. So Medellín actually is known for amazing dentists. It's just a reputation that the city has. However, of course, not all of them are going to be equally amazing. So definitely do your research. Another thing to know is that not necessarily all of the dentists in Medellín will speak English. There are some dentists that do and that even cater to dental tourism because it's become so popular. However, it's not always the case. So if you don't speak Spanish and you want to make sure your dentist speaks English, do definitely check in advance if they do. So, what is the best time of year to visit Medellín? Honestly, pretty much any time of year, because Medellín is actually known for its beautiful spring-like weather, which is pretty much year-round. I will say when to travel can be affected a bit by holidays. So, Christmas is huge in Colombia, and it's actually quite beautiful. They light everything up. I've been there at Christmas time. It's lovely, but just keep in mind that might increase the price of plane tickets or hotels or Airbnb. Another thing to keep in mind is if there's any type of major music concert or performance happening in Medellín, because that can also raise the price. On our last visit, we were shocked to see hotel and Airbnb prices much higher than usual, and it turned out there was a very famous reggaeton singer who was about to give a concert there, so that was causing the rise in prices. So if you're looking for a hotel and plane tickets and you're finding that they're just ginormous, most likely there's an event happening that time, and just see if you can pick another date. As of the time of recording this video, US citizens do not need a visa to enter Colombia. However, you just do need to fill out a quick online form anytime 24 hours before your flight. And I'll include a link to that form in the description below. So in terms of where to stay, that depends on many different factors. How many days will you be staying? Do check in advance with your dentist whether it's going to be a procedure where you need to come every day, or if, you just come once at the beginning of the trip and then once again at the end of the trip. That was the case with my husband on our latest trip to Medellín. He really only needed to be there the first day of the week. I think it was a Monday, and then he had to follow up at the end of the week, which was a Friday. So that meant we didn't actually need to stay in the city if we didn't want to. And we actually found an incredible deal on a beautiful hotel that was just a little bit outside of the city in Rio Negro, which is close to the airport. And so for us, since we didn't need to be in the city and we had seen the city, we preferred to actually stay in this beautiful hotel that was a luxury hotel and that we could actually relax and enjoy ourselves until having to go back in the city for his dentist appointment. So just keep in mind, Medellín is fairly large and there's a lot of things that will be called Medellín when you look up hotels and Airbnbs that are not necessarily right in the heart of the city, even if they are technically Medellín. So, but just to give you a quick rundown of where to stay if you really want to be central, I will say that the best places to stay are either El Poblado, which is really center of the city, or Laureles, which is also center, but it's a little bit more residential, a little bit more local. Poblado is famous in Medellín because that's pretty much like the center of tourism. It also can be the center of the party scene. So that's something to be aware of if you want a bit of a more tranquil visit. There are definitely areas of the city that aren't partying all the time, but that is generally where the party crowd tends to go to. I personally prefer Laureles. It's very quiet and tranquil. Lots of families live there, very local. I just like the vibe a little bit better. However, Poblado actually is very cute, so it's good to take an experience of both and see how you feel. I will say the majority of dentists who do cater to tourists are likely to be located in Poblado. So if you're going for a very short stay where you're going to be at the dentist pretty much every day, it probably is worth staying right in Poblado, which is what we did the first time. I will link below the place that we stayed, and it was lovely. There was no problem whatsoever. If you do have a visit where you really only need to be at the dentist maybe twice the whole time, then I would recommend maybe trying something different. You could try Laureles, you could try Rio Negro, where we stayed last time. So it's by the airport, which is actually quite far out of the city. It's maybe a 45-minute to an hour taxi ride, depending on. However, it is actually really lovely there, especially if you like the country. Even though it's by the airport, it's a very tranquil country setting. You'll see a lot of horses, cows. You could actually stay in a potentially nicer place than what might be offered in Poblado or Laureles. There are also other little neighborhoods like Saboneta and Envigado. I haven't been to Saboneta. I have been to Envigado just for the day. Once again, if you check out my other Medellín video, it's all about the tourism of Medellín, and we do a quick visit to Envigado as well. It's also very nice. It really is just a matter of how central you need to be to your dentist and where your dentist is located. Another awesome thing about Medellín is they are known for their very clean, drinkable tap water. So there is a reputation usually in South America that you can't drink the water in certain places. It's not the case for all of Colombia that you can drink the water. However, Medellín is known for that, which is actually pretty cool because it saves that extra step of worrying and making sure you always have bottled water for everything. The water is great there, totally drinkable. How to get around in Medellín. If you're staying in the center, honestly, it's pretty simple. In Poblado, actually, things are pretty walkable. It's pretty easy to walk around there. If you need to go from one place to another by car, they have Uber, just like they have here, and Uber is actually a lot cheaper over there. They also have a local app called Didi. I'll put a link to that below, and that one works a little bit differently, in which you arrange a price in advance on the app, and then you just pay the driver in cash. So it's really about what you prefer. There are also people that you can pay privately to take you around by taxi. So one thing that you can do if you get a recommendation of a driver, I would not just work with someone who calls himself a private driver on Facebook. If you maybe meet them in a Facebook group, I would not necessarily trust that unless they've been recommended by someone you know in real life. However, if you do take an Uber or a taxi and you like the driver and you just think maybe you'd like to work with them again, you could ask them for their card or for their number, and if you could call them again in the future. That's always an option, and sometimes people just hire somebody for the day to take them around if it makes them feel a little bit safer and more comfortable. In terms of eating in Medellín, I love the food in Medellín. There's so many little farms and a lot of food is really fresh from the local farms. So I found the quality to be excellent. So if you're staying in an Airbnb, definitely you can get groceries. I'll put a link below to an app where you can actually order groceries if you don't want to have to go to the grocery store. So groceries are way less expensive, great quality. And if you want to go out to eat, there are a lot of lovely restaurants, and again, way less expensive than what you would pay to go out in the US. I have a PDF that I've created where I list a lot of my favorite restaurants in the different neighborhoods and some of the favorite places that I've stayed and neighborhoods that I love. So I will put a link to that in below. It's absolutely free. You can just click on it below and I'll send it over. And if you're interested in learning more about what to do for fun in Medellín, Colombia, I made a whole other video about that you can check out right over here. If you enjoyed this video, I would so appreciate it if you give it a like and consider subscribing. We have so much great health, wellness, and travel content coming your way. Don't miss it.